The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Minneapolis, mirroring the tempest inside me. Bertram, a 43-year-old mechanic, had always prided myself on being a straightforward guy. I fixed cars. I loved my wife, Gwyneth, and I tried to live an honest life. But honesty, I was beginning to realize, was a luxury not everyone afforded you. Gwyneth and I had been married for 15 years. Met at a local coffee shop, the Daily Grind, where she was a barista and I was a regular, nursing a black coffee while I read the morning paper. Her smile, bright and genuine, had been the first thing that drew me in. Over time, we built a life together, a comfortable, predictable life. Or so I thought. The first crack in our foundation appeared subtly. Gwyneth, who worked as a real estate agent, started coming home later. "The market's crazy, Bertram," she'd say, her voice laced with exhaustion. "Clients want to see houses at all hours." I didn't question it. I trusted her. Maybe I was naive, but trust was the bedrock of our marriage, or so I believed. Then came the business trips. "A big opportunity in Chicago," she explained one evening, packing a suitcase. "I have to network, meet potential investors." Chicago was a frequent destination. These trips grew from once a month to almost weekly. Each time she'd return with stories of fancy dinners and power meetings, her eyes gleaming with ambition. I was proud of her success, even though I missed her when she was gone. The first real red flag, the one that should have sent sirens blaring in my head, was the perfume. Gwyneth had always worn a light, floral scent, something delicate and understated. But one night, she came home smelling of something else entirely, a musky, almost aggressive fragrance that didn't suit her at all. "New client gift," she said quickly, noticing my raised eyebrow. "A fancy boutique gave it to me." I shrugged it off, telling myself I was being paranoid, but the unease lingered. I started paying closer attention, noticing little things I'd previously overlooked. The way she flinched when I touched her. The secretive phone calls she'd take in the other room, her voice hushed and low. The way she'd jump when I entered the house unexpectedly. It was like a shadow had fallen over our relationship, a darkness I couldn't quite grasp. One Saturday morning, while Gwyneth was at an open house, I decided to tackle some long overdue chores. Our home office was a disaster zone, bills piled high, documents scattered everywhere. As I sorted through the mess, I stumbled upon a small, velvet box tucked away in the back of a drawer. My heart pounded in my chest as I opened it. Inside, nestled on a bed of satin, was a diamond necklace, expensive, extravagant, and definitely not something we could afford. I knew in that moment that my world was about to shatter. The necklace was a symbol of something hidden, something illicit. It was a blatant, glittering lie staring me in the face. I decided to play it cool, at least for the time being. I needed proof, concrete evidence to confront Gwyneth with. I couldn't act on suspicion alone. So I hatched a plan. I knew Gwyneth's email password, a simple combination of our anniversary date and our dog's name. That evening, after she'd fallen asleep, I slipped into the office and fired up the computer. My hands trembled as I typed in the password, half expecting it to have been changed. The inbox was a treasure trove of deceit. Emails to a man named Ignatius, filled with coded language and suggestive undertones. Ignatius, it turned out, was a wealthy developer she'd met during her Chicago trips. The emails painted a vivid picture of their affair, clandestine meetings, romantic getaways, and promises of a future together. The diamond necklace, I realized, was likely a gift from him. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The betrayal was so deep, so profound, that it took my breath away. 15 years. 15 years of love, loyalty, and commitment, all reduced to this string of lies and deceit. I printed out the emails, every single one of them. I needed to hold them, to see them in black and white, to fully grasp the enormity of what had happened. As I held the printed pages, I felt a cold, burning rage begin to simmer inside me. The next morning, I waited for Gwyneth to return from her morning yoga class. When she walked through the door, radiating an air of innocent serenity, I confronted her. "Who's Ignatius?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. She froze, her eyes widening in panic. "Ignatius? I don't know any Ignatius." I tossed the printed emails onto the kitchen table. "Read them," I said, my voice flat. "And then tell me you don't know him." She picked up the pages, her face draining of color as she scanned the contents. The lies crumbled around her like a house of cards. Finally, she looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and defiance. "It's not what you think," she stammered. "Oh, really?" "Because it looks an awful lot like you've been having an affair with a rich developer behind my back. And that diamond necklace I found, I'm guessing that's from him too." She started to cry, pleading for forgiveness. "It just happened, Bertram. I didn't mean for it to go this far. He's very persuasive." Her words were like poison seeping into my soul. "Persuasive," I repeated, my voice rising. "You betrayed me, Gwyneth. You betrayed our marriage. And you expect me to believe it just happened. I couldn't stay in the same room with her." The sight of her, the sound of her voice, filled me with a revulsion I'd never experienced before. I grabbed my keys and walked out, slamming the door behind me. I spent the next few days in a haze of anger and disbelief. I drove aimlessly, drank too much, and replayed the events of the past few months over and over in my head, searching for answers, for some explanation for her betrayal. I knew I couldn't stay married to her. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I contacted a lawyer and started the divorce proceedings. It was a messy, acrimonious affair. Gwyneth fought me every step of the way, claiming I was overreacting, that she still loved me, that we could work things out, but I was done. I couldn't forgive her. The image of her with Ignatius, the lies she had told, were etched into my mind, poisoning every thought and feeling I had for her. As the divorce dragged on, I started digging into Ignatius's background. I hired a private investigator, a gruff, no-nonsense woman named Clementine, to uncover the truth about him. What she found was even more shocking than I could have imagined. Ignatius wasn't just a wealthy developer, he was a con man. He had a history of seducing women, manipulating them into investing in his schemes, and then disappearing with their money. Gwyneth, it turned out, wasn't his first victim. I confronted Gwyneth with the information. At first, she denied it, but Clementine had provided irrefutable proof: bank records, witness statements, even a police report from another state. Finally, she broke down, admitting the truth. Ignatius had promised her a lavish lifestyle, a life of luxury and excitement. He had convinced her to invest a significant portion of our savings into one of his projects, a project that was now bankrupt. Gwyneth was devastated, not just by the betrayal of her lover, but by the realization that she had been played, used, and financially ruined. She had lost everything: her marriage, her reputation, and her money. I felt a strange mix of emotions: anger, pity, and a small measure of satisfaction. She had reaped what she had sown. Her betrayal had led to her own downfall. But as I looked at her, broken and defeated, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. We had shared so much, built a life together, and now it was all gone. The divorce was finalized. Gwyneth moved out, leaving me alone in the house we had once shared. I was free, but I didn't feel free. The betrayal had left a deep scar, a wound that might never fully heal. I started focusing on my work, throwing myself into fixing cars. It was a simple, honest occupation, a welcome contrast to the lies and deceit that had consumed my life. I found solace in the familiar rhythm of the garage, the smell of oil and grease, the satisfaction of bringing a broken machine back to life. One day, Clementine came to visit me at the garage. "I have something you should see," she said, handing me a file. Inside was information about Ignatius. He had been arrested not just for fraud, but for a variety of other crimes: embezzlement, money laundering, even assault. He was facing a long prison sentence. "He's not going to be charming his way out of this one," Clementine said with a grim smile. I felt a sense of closure, a sense that justice had been served. Ignatius had been brought to justice, and Gwyneth had faced the consequences of her actions. But as I sat alone in my apartment that night, the rain still hammering against the windows, I realized that closure wasn't enough. The betrayal had changed me, hardened me. I was no longer the naive, trusting man I once was. I knew I would eventually move on, find love again, but I would never forget what had happened. The scars of betrayal would always be there, a reminder of the fragility of trust and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly perfect relationships. Years passed. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I sold the house, moved to a smaller apartment, and focused on my work. I even started dating again, cautiously, tentatively. I met a woman named Isolde, a kind, intelligent librarian who understood my past and accepted me for who I was. We built a new life together, a life based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. One day I received a letter from Gwyneth. She was living in a small town in Montana, working as a waitress. She had lost everything, she wrote, but she was trying to rebuild her life to make amends for her mistakes. She asked for my forgiveness, not for her sake, but for her own. She needed to know that I had moved on, that I had found happiness again. I thought about her letter for a long time. I thought about the pain she had caused me, the lies she had told, the betrayal that had shattered my world. But I also thought about the woman I had once loved, the woman who had made me laugh, who had shared my dreams, who had been my best friend. I wrote her back, telling her that I had forgiven her. Not because she deserved it, but because I needed to let go of the anger and resentment that had been poisoning my life for so long. I told her that I had found happiness again, that I was with someone who loved and respected me. And I wished her well, hoping that she would find peace and redemption in her own life. The rain had stopped. The sun was shining, casting a warm glow over the city. As I looked out the window, I realized that the storm had passed, not just outside, but inside me as well. The scars of betrayal would always be there, but they no longer defined me. I was Bertram, a mechanic, a survivor, and a man who had learned to love again. And that, I realized, was a victory in itself.